When the fire tore through the Cathedral of Notre Dame in 2019, many people feared that France and the world had just lost one of its great treasures. But incredibly, 5 years on, the cathedral has been reborn and restored to its former glory. Well, I've come to Paris to find out what the restoration of Notre Dame means to the people of France.
C'est assez merveilleux, mais la providence.
It's quite wonderful and providential. My tragedy, my path, ended up giving me a way that I could contribute to the cathedral.
Sur la cathédrale.
It means like a renewal of the faith. I mean, not only one cathedral, but maybe a new start.
People are looking for something to dream about.
Something to believe in.
To dream about.
This is Notre Dame, a symbol of hope. When TV cameras started to show the live pictures, many found them hard to believe. One of the jewels in the crown of Paris, a structure dating back to the 12th century, one of the world's great cathedrals, was burning and looked like it was going to crumble. Thanks to the heroic efforts of the firefighters, its main structure and priceless artifacts were saved, but the damage was devastating. The images of the burning cathedral affected so many people that it caused an outpouring of support and solidarity, and people around the world rallied together and pledged almost $800 million to restore the cathedral. And the man with the enormous task of carrying out the project was Chief Architect Philippe Villeneuve.
Several times I came to the United States to speak about this chantier.
I've heard you say before that the day the fire started here at Notre Dame, the little boy inside of you died. What did you mean by that?
Je suis amoureux fou de Notre Dame de Paris depuis que je suis petit.
Well, because I've been madly in love with Notre Dame de Paris since I was little. Growing up, it was inside the cathedral where I felt good. And when I was 16, I made a model of the cathedral. I was really captivated by it, moved by it.
Et j'ai toujours vu cette espèce de rapport avec la cathédrale.
And little did I know as a kid when I was building the cathedral out of card and paper that one day I would be working on the real cathedral. And so when I laid the last stone of the vault in the north transept, it brought me back. And I saw myself as a kid again, building this vault with paper and cardboard.
Bâtir ma cathédrale.
With pressure from the French government and the 340,000 private donors from around the world, Philippe Villeneuve had to make sure that, as much as possible, original techniques and materials were used, and a team of over 2,000 people worked on the restoration for 5 years.
Ça a été un travail.
It was an enormous amount of work. I realize it now, looking at where we came from.
Je suis stupéfait de la beauté.
I'm really amazed by the beauty, amazed by the work, by the quality of work.
The deeper meaning behind this. Are you a man of faith?
J'ai passé 5 ans à rien dire à ce sujet-là.
You know, I spent 5 years saying nothing about this because I'm a civil servant in a secular republic, and therefore I couldn't say something like this. But now I have to reveal that, yes,
Que j'ai une dévotion particulière à la Vierge, Marie.
I have a particular devotion to the Virgin Mary, and at the risk of sounding totally crazy or like Joan of Arc, I never stopped feeling support coming from up there. I don't think this project would have been possible otherwise, and I think that's what gave me the strength and determination to move forward, because I knew I was supported from up there.
Là-haut.
In the week leading up to the official reopening, the completed restoration work was officially inspected by Emmanuel Macron. The French president, along with millions of others watching live on television, was given a first look at the new altar, the white stone and gold details, and the restored bells. And guiding the president through the cathedral was the rector of Notre Dame, Father Olivier Ribadeau Duman. At a time when religion, organized religion, is declining in the West and cultures and countries are becoming more secular, were you surprised at the outcry and the outpouring of sorrow and grief when the fire struck in 2019 and the will and the want to restore it from everybody.
Lorsque la cathédrale a brûlé le 15 avril 2019.
When the cathedral burned on April 15th, 2019, the strong emotional reaction clearly demonstrated everyone's attachment to this Notre Dame de Paris cathedral.
Quelque chose de l'âme de la France.
Because this cathedral is something of the soul of France, the history of our country is intimately linked with the history of the cathedral, and at the same time, its influence extends far beyond France. The cathedral does not belong to Parisians, nor to Catholics, nor to the French, but it is the common good of all humanity. And its stones speak of God because they have been animated by prayer for more than 800 years.
In the build-up to the reopening, a row erupted in France after the Minister for Culture suggested a €5 fee should be charged to visitors, which could be put towards restoring some of the country's other crumbling cathedrals. However, the Catholic Church and the rector of Notre Dame strongly opposed this, saying entrance to a church should always be free, as it's a place of worship and not a museum.
Et je suis humble aussi devant la mission qui m'est confiée maintenant qu'elle.
I have to make sure it is a place of prayer, so that it is a place of celebration, and so that it is a place of discovery of faith.
Pour qu'elle soit un lieu de découverte de la foi.
The story of Notre Dame has had a profound effect on the people of France in many different ways, including Paul de Livron. Paul's life changed forever when he was 21 after a hiking accident in the south of France. Bring us back to the beginning. You were hiking with some friends, you were rock climbing 11 years ago here in France, and what happened?
C'est à peu près ça, effectivement, il y a 11 ans, en 2013, je faisais...
Yes, you're right. It was 11 years ago, in 2013, I was hiking with two friends from the engineering school where I was a student. We were in a very beautiful park near Marseille in the south of France, and I slipped on some gravel at the top of a cliff and fell. I landed in a tree that saved my life, but I twisted my back, and that broke a vertebra and damaged my spinal cord. As a result, I lost most of the ability to use my legs, especially the ability to walk.
La possibilité de marcher en particulier.
For Paul, the accident was catastrophic. He was never going to walk again. But amazingly, he didn't despair. What about your faith? Were you a person of faith before the accident?
Oui, je pense que...
Yes, I was a person who already had faith. And in fact, I believe I owe a lot in particular to Holy Mary for the fact that I survived the accident.
La médaille miraculeuse de la rue.
I was wearing a miraculous medal of Mary around my neck, and I think that's what saved me.
De la Sainte Vierge.
Paul embarked on a new mission in life, designing and hand-carving beautiful wooden wheelchairs, in the hope that they would uplift other users.
Et j'étais complètement sidéré, je pense, comme beaucoup de gens en France et dans le monde.
Like many people in France and around the world, I watched all the news about the fire, wanting to know everything I could about it. I felt this desire to help in the restoration, but because of my wheelchair, even if I had the skills to help, I couldn't even access the construction site, for example. But I was able to get charred wood from the Notre Dame fire, wood dating from the beginning of the 19th century, and I was able to work this into my wheelchairs.
Paul put two dark lines at the back of his chairs, charred wood that survived the fire of Notre Dame, and he says they represent strength and resilience. That's incredible that you wanted so much to help with the restoration.
Yeah.
That this is your way.
Exactement. En fin de compte, c'est
Exactly. In the end, it's quite wonderful and providential. My tragedy, my path, ended up giving me a way that I could contribute to the cathedral.
Sur la cathédrale.
As the Christmas lights twinkle up and down the Champs-Élysées and the Eiffel Tower shines its light across the city, last-minute preparations are underway at the cathedral the night before the grand opening, and in a nearby church, a choir of men and women are holding a final rehearsal. This is the Notre Dame Workers' Choir, made up of over 80 architects, engineers, carpenters, crane operators, construction workers.
I was a painter, kind of painter, and most of the time I'm a sculptor.
Many of us are not familiar with singing or involved in any choir, so I think the result is convincing. It's okay. It's okay.
I think it will be magic.
I'm a Muslim, and for me, being in this choir is all about practicing tolerance on a human scale. It is a fabulous moment for me.
Under the direction of Frédéric Pinu, they are preparing to perform inside Notre Dame in just a few days, the very cathedral which they helped to bring back to life. And later that night, I meet local Parisian Cécile Thévenin. She was one of the people who gathered in front of the burning cathedral to sing and pray. And says the experience had a profound impact on her. We're sitting here in this coffee shop just a stone's throw from Notre Dame Cathedral. Do you remember what it was like that night when it went up in flames?
Oh yeah, of course. Suddenly in the news there was like, there's a big fire. So I went immediately to Notre Dame. We were a lot of people around. And
You came straight here?
Yeah, of course. And I was like literally crying because we thought that the cathedral would crumble. Then we were praying basically or singing because like we can't do anything.
When you were among the crowd and people were singing and they were praying, what was the atmosphere like? What did it feel like?
You had this magic, you had this very deep moment where everyone was like praying. And I discovered that at this moment, French people were deeply attached to this cathedral.
They say you never really miss something until it's gone. And since France almost lost their 900-year-old cathedral forever, Cécile believes this might help to give a boost to the faith, which has been declining in France, like in many other parts of Europe. What do you want the restoration of Notre Dame to represent, not just for Christians here in Paris and in France, but for Christians and believers throughout the world?
It means like a renewal of the faith, because we are the whole continent where the faith is like dying a little bit, or at least we have the impression that it's from the past.
Do you think perhaps some people will even appreciate it more now that they almost lost it?
I'm sure, yeah. And that they will feel it's not only about a building, but about the Virgin Mary and God that we are praising, celebrating there.
All right, we're going to turn now to Paris, where world leaders are gathering to celebrate the reopening of the Notre Dame Cathedral.
After 5 long years of working and waiting, on a cold and misty Saturday night, December the 7th, as the nation watched live on television, the Archbishop of Paris, Laurent Ulrich, knocked on the doors of Notre Dame.
Modèle de la foi.
Inside, the sound of Notre Dame's famous 8,000 pipe organ filled the cathedral, and a choir sung out in joy. The cathedral looking brighter than ever as all the stone had been cleaned, every single structure repainted, and the stained glass windows given back their colour and vibrancy. In attendance were representatives of over 50 nations, including Prince William from the United Kingdom, First Lady Jill Biden from the United States, Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky, and US President-elect Donald Trump, who stood right next to French President Emmanuel Macron. Notably absent was Pope Francis, who chose to decline the invitation.
Vive Notre Dame de Paris.
And the following morning, another joyous occasion, when on the Feast of the Immaculate Conception, the first Mass was celebrated inside the cathedral and the altar consecrated. In attendance was Henri Delcem, who was greeted by President Macron because of his bravery. Nicknamed France's backpack hero for saving children during a terrorist attack in 2023, he told me he believes Notre Dame's rebirth will be a sign to the young people of France.
There is a lot of energy in France. and people are looking for something to dream about.
Something to believe in.
Something to, yes, to believe in, but to dream about. Look at the spire of the cathedrals. Yes. It is a direction.
When you say that the spire is a signpost to direct people to dream about something, what is it pointing people towards?
It's like a bridge between earth and heaven.
Earth and heaven.
A finger showing God. Even if we don't have faith, it is a direction, okay? It is a symbol of an ideal, like always look up to the sky, dream big, and to act with greatness.
And with that, the doors of the stunning Notre Dame Cathedral have reopened, ready to welcome once again pilgrims and worshippers from all over the world. In Paris, France, Colin Flynn, EWTN News in Depth.